Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer. Welcome back to PCM21 Stage Racer. It's episode 64, and we continue on with the Tour de France. And we are actually really close to the end now. First up, it's stage 18, up 21 already. Stage 19 is a sprint stage. Stage 21, Champs-Élysées, another sprint stage. And stage 20 is just a 20-kilometer time trial, individual. So that is still ahead of us, but this is it. This is the last stage that's going to substantially alter the times, because that time trial at just 20k, the time gaps aren't going to be that big. But let's take our four guys as we begin the penultimate climb of this year's tour, at least proper climb of the tour. Col de Vars, 9k, 7.5%. So we'll get these guys kind of ramped up a little bit for this first climb. Right now we have a 9-man break with a 7.5-minute gap, which means they're very likely to hang on to this thing. But at this stage, the pace wasn't so bad, and other than Blickra, Jones, the domestiques going backwards, my actual climbers with 4.5k to go are doing okay. We're going to speed up Alves a little bit so we don't lose too much ground. Same with Pedersen. Put a little more effort in to make sure they are still there once we go over the top. And then Camargo is here. Could support me, but with 2.5k to go, I will have no problem recovering fully. So I might as well leave Camargo free reign for the moment. And here comes those splits. Alves very much at the back end of this thing now. So let's get his little punchy legs going to try to stay put. Pedersen, meanwhile, with a +4, is having a much better day than Alves. And he just lost contact anyway. Really? That was not out the back, but he regains contact momentarily. Again, losing contact. He hasn't lost contact. Ineos fully in control of this thing. Even though it's UAE who have the lead. Alves also lost contact, and we're down to either 67 or 46 riders. Very much yo-yoing, and the gap is still 8 minutes, meaning the front group didn't lose any distance on the rest of us, and yet we only have a third of the peloton left. You can tell it's getting late in the race, huh? Well, those guys did not get back in contact. So Camargo needs to go take care of the water situation as we go through the flat here. He doesn't have to travel back too far. It's that chance to sit up. And hopefully Pedersen and Alves get back on, but that's not looking likely at the moment. So I'll have one support rider for the final climb. And there's a whole lot of uphill for that. And we're back up to 67, and neither one of them got on, even though they were dropped just meters from the top of the climb. That's rough. All right, Camargo. Go ahead. Gap holds at 8 as we hit the bottom. We have 30 kilometers to go. Water's not going to be an issue. Camargo's looking good. Looking fairly good with a +3. Certainly looking pretty fresh right now. 86 mountain today. Just about gives me enough to compete with these guys.
The pack is not fighting for it. It's clear as
Stamina resistance are pretty tolerable. Not going to be an easy final climb. Hopefully we can do something with that and get back on the podium as we sit at 4th place. Excuse me.
The gap is widening. The pack doesn't seem too concerned. The pack is increasing its work rate. Some teams can't be
chase
happy with
groups
the breakaway.
never making it back on, even though we have a rider in each of the 2 chase groups. And heart rate's rising, even though we are not officially climbing, but we're already going slightly uphill
the 15 kilometers road sign.
at 44 kilometers an hour. To the Zord, 14.5k, 7%. Get a little respite just before the top, but then it gets real steep for that final piece. That's something to watch out for That seems like a good place to open a gap and push on to the final bit.
The finish line is
Margot,
getting close.
we will want the transcend option here at some point.
With the finishing line within reach.
Gap really coming down on the guys we're chasing, but the front ones are hanging on. Solaire already attacking. I can't attack early. It's just impossible to do without the bonuses that they all have. Okay, so Camargo, go ahead and use the transcend now. I'm still looking pretty good right now, holding position. I'm going to back off just a little bit. We're at 58 riders. We've only dropped about 10 so far. But you can tell that's going to thin out here really soon. 7K to go. I would love to attack, but again, that's not attacking potential.
The pace seems much too high for many riders. And he moves on to the attack. It could be decisive.
I do not see this being responded to. I also don't see anybody that I can properly... There we go. Follow Alaphilippe's attack, please. Thank you. Alaphilippe's the one that I need to beat, not Pogacar. Let him ride on and somebody else do the chasing. Bernal, also not the one I need to beat. I need to beat Alaphilippe. I want to get on the podium. Those two, they are too good. And we have just 5K to go. But Alaphilippe is trying to go with it. And even with all this, I don't think there's any matching him. He's got a +2 on his race day condition is all. Is he out? Bernal is going. Alaphilippe is going to get dropped here in a second. Pogacar is clear. Landa has very little left. Let's see what Solaire has. He has very little left. Almeida has very little left. Moss has very little left. I could be headed for 3rd on this stage if we play this properly. These guys are about to lose some time though. Gegenhardt's done too. So ease forward, use my gel, use the sneak, and let's attack and leave these guys behind. Okay, we're clear. We're clear. And we have 4K to go. Going at 75 effort.
Attack
73, 70 effort. 70 effort. We open the gap behind us. The group back there. A, I'm pulling away. B, it is all split up, but we can only push so hard. Gel just now kicks in. I'm not worried about catching these two. I'm worried about keeping the group behind me at bay. Meanwhile, I have opened the gap. I have 2.8K, and I can climb faster than them. Also, we're going to get this little bonus here as you go over the top for just a moment. That's going to give me my red bar and just a little bit of yellow bar back. And we have a 22-second gap. 29-second. We have opened. Scale Most, meanwhile, has won the stage. We have 1K to go. We can push a little bit harder on our way to the finish line, finishing it off. We've opened it up to over 40 seconds now. This is going to put me into a podium spot, theoretically. Should. Pogacar has finished 8th on the stage. Bernal has finished 10th. And we are going to sprint it out towards the finish line. Try to gain that little bit more. Somebody has closed us within 10 seconds. It's Roglic, but nobody else could. Landa also leaving the rest of the group behind, but could not close the gap. And meanwhile, the gap opens to everybody else. And we are back into a podium position. 3rd place with 1 time trial left to decide this thing. I think I'm a little too far back of those two, but I also think this is about as good as we can hope, being behind 2 of the world's best without any team support, where they have 2 very, very strong teams here. And of course, those other inherent advantages that come with the way we play. Bernal really lucked out because he finished probably a good 10 to 20 seconds behind Pogacar, maybe more because I wasn't that far behind that group of four. Even Semetier finished a little ways behind Pogacar. Cosnefroy was definitely behind. But anyway, I was over a minute down on those two, so the gap does open. But behind me, we open up a sizable gap on most of the riders, 5:03. So we gained more than a minute on the majority. Landa and Roglic, the only ones able to open a gap other than the top leaders. And that now has me securely in third place. I am too far behind with just 20k to go to catch Pogacar or Bernal. I am 25 seconds ahead of Roglic. I should be able to finish better than him in the time trial to keep him at bay. Almeida at 4.5 is too far down. Even if he puts in a monumental effort, he's not a threat. Alaphilippe drops all the way to 7th place. Disappointing day for him, but great day for me, into the top 3. This also should do a little... No points because of the breakaway riders. Skilmos winning the stage jumps to 2nd in the KOM, so I actually slip a spot. It should have been good for me because for one I was way ahead of Mater on the stage, but because of the breakaway riders I didn't finish 3rd. I finished 11th, 12th, whatever it was, 13th. So no King of the Mountain points. Had to be in the top 10 for that to happen. In fact, Pogacar got the last of the points. Bernal, Alaphilippe, nothing. I will win the under 25s though. That much is guaranteed. 8 minutes is more than enough. And we are in Marseille for the 20th stage, the penultimate stage of this year's Tour de France. It is 21.5 kilometers in length. There is a tiny hill right before the end of Sector 1, and there is a decent little climb at the end of Sector number 2. But outside of that, it is totally flat. Being that we're in the Pro Cyclist mode, I don't know how much effort to give. And that's really frustrating. I've seen my team make an absolute meal out of this time trial. Pedersen, the only one that is even semi-respectable in this. Everybody else has been awful. Now, I've seen them yo-yoing their effort a lot to just above the 80s. 85 mark where they're using that red bar. I don't think you're going to get into red bar in this one except for maybe during the climb at the end of Sector 2. I feel like this is something between maybe an 82 and an 84. Might be less than that. I don't suspect it'll be more than that. Usually at about 17k, you're kind of hovering around 15, 16, or sorry, 85, 86 effort. So maybe the 83, 84 is enough. But I kind of figure with the climb, it's going to take a little bit more. We're going to try an 84 here in the first couple kilometers. It's going to make a difference. I've got a poor race day condition bonus, just a +1, which means I drew a -2 on the day. So my time trialing is 81.78, and it's a little more times the time trial, so it's about a 79.7 average between the two, and you can see we've gone just a hair too hard at 86. So we're going to back off to the 84 and see how well that manages. It gave us a good tempo early on at the least, and we seem to be slowly gaining back what we need to set us up for that climb a little bit later on and to have a little something for the finish line. So 84 seems to be about right for this. Coming up on the first time check now. Of course, the only threat to me is Roglic, and I'm not a threat to anyone. Those top two guys are just a little too far ahead. There's that tiny little hill at the end of the first sector, and we are neutral right now. We're just 20 seconds down in 33rd place. Now, I want to push a little harder when we get to that climb. I think that's where I can make up a little bit of ground. And in terms of where we should be, we are now neutral, which means we have a little bit for the finish line and a little bit for this climb, because you can obviously expend the yellow bar and then expend your red bar. in that final kilometer and a half or so. Okay, here we go. Into the climb. 87 through here.
This climb features some dreadful percentages.
Go 88. Push even harder. Push harder. 89. Attack this climb. Come on. Right to the top. Right, that's going to gain some time. 7th, just 14 seconds down. And now we go back to in 84.
There's a new reference
Go
time
85.
coming in.
Maybe make it 86. Push on. Slightly downhill through here anyway. Almeida puts in the top time. Gegenhardt's up there. Solera's up there. These guys are pushing hard. 2K to go. 2K to go. And it looks like we will kind of just about time this thing right. Final kilometer. Pushing, pushing. And there you go. We attack the line. 8th, 13 seconds down. Not bad, not bad, especially with the race day condition we had. We are not going to be losing the 20 or more seconds. In fact, Roglic lost time to us. He's 40 seconds down overall. Bernal has not yet reached the line. He's a minute down. We gained a minute on Bernal. That's a good run. And Pogacar just won the stage and clinched his win of the race. We will stay in 3rd place. Bernal had more than a minute's cushion on us. Well over a minute. He had close to 3. So we cut the gap down and we firmed up our place. And we got a top 10 on the stage. Pretty good. There it is. 3:20 down overall. Nearly 2 minutes behind. But also nearly a minute ahead. Roglic hangs on to 4th. Almeida moves up into the top 5. Moss, Alaphilippe, Landa, Soler, and David Gaudu are your top 10. That is a strong, strong list. Alaphilippe, more of a puncher, obviously, so is Gaudu, but with this type of tour and getting in breakaways for some of these guys makes a real difference. Climbing, of course, is now done as we head into the final stage, so we will finish 3rd in the KOM. Points, Mads Pedersen claiming that one. He's 21 points ahead, though, so Caleb Ewan actually could still win it here on the final stage if he wins at the Champs-Élysées. He will take over and win that jersey, or could, depending on where Pedersen finishes. So that one's not decided just yet. We crushed it in the young rider classification. Only one rider even within 10 minutes, barely. Van Sevenent, 22 down. Evenepoel, nearly half an hour. Skelmos was over half an hour, but he won that last climbing stage from the break and gained 5 minutes or something like that. As a team, last I checked, we were 15th. At least it's not last. But a lot of that has to do with my times that I keep putting in. And that I'm protecting my other 3 riders to at least give me a little bit of support as the stages go on. And we've already entered Paris. The first and only intermediate sprint is coming up. We don't get the procession like you get in real life. They don't know how to do that here in the game. We're already past that. We had a 3-man breakaway, and that gap is now sitting on 23 points. So the provisional 23-point gap. Now, here is what is available at the finish line. So if Caleb Ewan wins the stage and gets all 50 points available there, Mads Pedersen would have to finish in 2nd place to keep the jersey, the points jersey, the green jersey. If he finishes 3rd or below with Caleb Ewan winning, jersey would go to Ewan. Now, if Ewan takes 2nd, well, 23 points is a lot harder to come by. Mads Pedersen would essentially have to finish well down the order, probably outside of the top 10 or at least outside of the top 7 or so, to take a small enough quantity of points to lose the jersey. 24K to go. Better get myself ready for this final run in. And who do I have to lead out a sprint? Nobody. I do have Casper Pedersen. Let's get you up. Let's not get you up that way. Let's bring you up to my wheel. And then we will also use Alves. Alves is already here. So there's my 2 guys to give me a lead out in the final kilometers. It's also up my effort as they pick up the pace. 20K to go now. Roglic with a puncture. I figure he'll get back in. In fact, he hasn't even left the peloton. He is still
They
in it.
really
There's
are
no
moving.
breakaway
The
right
pack
now.
can't get strung out too far,
17K
or it's
to
going
go
start
now.
breaking up.
Pedersen has made it
There are
into
just 15
position.
kilometers left.
14K to go. With just a couple of lead out guys, I'll wait until about 9K to begin my move. Actually, Delay is here. Why don't we start with Delay? So we'll take... Oh, I don't have Delay under control. Okay, we'll hang on a little bit longer. Delay and Powers get free reign for the day. That's fine. They deserve it. They've been domestiques pretty much the entire
While the
race.
pack is getting close to the
Okay,
finish line,
there you go.
everybody seems to agree that the stage will be won in a sprint.
All right, Alves. Let's get this party started. 8.5K to go. Get to the outside where we have some space. Put that foot down. Bring us to the front. 7K to go. 6K to go. Would love to see him sprint, but
The
they
riders
don't
are in
really
a
do
portion
that
above
properly
10%.
for you. It's
The
too far
riders
out.
are entering the last 5 kilometers of the stage.
Okay, 3.8. Pedersen. He's gonna have to take over here in a moment. Now's the time to do that. No, not full sprint, but yes, 99. And yes, transcend. Come on, transcend. There you go. Now sprint it. It's a little early, but it's my only chance of actually doing something here. Continue it on with my non-sprinter's legs. Delay going for the sprint. There's his free raid.
Great stuff.
And Sam Bennett has won it
Really paid off,
just
and
ahead
their
of Caleb
sprinter
Ewan.
brings home the
So
bacon.
Ewan misses out on the jersey. Pedersen was only 5th. It would have been enough if he could have taken it above Bennett. He does not. And I'm just way too slow anyway. Also went a bit too early. Gotta try something, right?
We're waiting for the
All right,
tail enders
race
to
is
continue
done.
to arrive.
Green jersey should stay on the back of Mads Pedersen. That's a big win for him, but he does have an 80 sprint in this game at this point. Bennett, Ewan, Philipsen, Van Aert, there's Pedersen. 80-78, you're pretty dang good. Full-on sprinter now, not a classics rider. All right, there is confirmation, 3rd place. There's confirmation that Pedersen does hang on to it by just 9 points over Caleb Ewan. Told you that if Ewan was 2nd, that Pedersen would have to be well down the order. And even though he was only 5th and Ewan was 2nd, 5th was enough. Van Aert was 3rd, Bennett was 4th, Vanderpool was 5th. I take 3rd in the KOM. I win the under 25s, and there is the 2 hours and 10 minutes that we were behind in the team classification. That is going to do it for this episode and this Tour de France. I'm going to check in on the rankings here real quick as we wrap this up, but that was worth 52 points for finishing that out. Let's push forward just a day. And here are your new individual rankings. I remain on top, Bernal and Pogačar. Pogačar has moved up from 8th to 3rd with that win, but Bernal taking 2nd while he closes the gap on me. It's not enough to overtake. So I remain on top of the World Tour individual rankings. Ventina is the leader in the Continental, but here is where he has overtaken me. Bernal is now number 1 in the Super Prestige. This was a lot closer. I am number 2, but that's still a good score. That's still a really good score. Pogačar moves up 2 spots to number 4, right behind Van Aert, who rounds out the podium. Hershey in 5th. Alaphilippe moves up a bit. Caleb Ewan moves up a little bit. He gained from that one. Pedersen moves all the way up into 9th. Number of sprinters up there. All right, well, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there. My heart's with Ukraine, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.